Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mortuary. I am the Mortician, and today we're going to be doing trad metal for beginners. You might be asking yourself, what is trad metal? Trad metal is just shortened for traditional metal, which I'm sure you've already put together, but traditional metal is my term for heavy metal. The reason that I use the term trad metal instead of heavy metal is because I feel like a lot of people use the term heavy metal and metal interchangeably, so it can be a little confusing when I want to talk heavy metal with someone and they bring up something like Cannibal Corpse, which I have had happen before. So I use the term traditional metal to describe the old way of making metal, stuff like Judas Priest, Dio, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, stuff like that. I'll call those bands traditional metal. Now, let's get into this. The first band on the gradient is Sourceless Metamorphose. I apologize if I butchered that. I'm trying to learn French. I really am. It's not going well. But I recommend this band and this album for anyone who really likes Iron Maiden. And you might ask yourself, why not just wreck Iron Maiden? I get that a lot. Why not just wreck this really well-known band? Why not just wreck this one? My thing is that I don't want to insult your intelligence. I'm assuming that the reason that you're here is because you are new to metal, but it's because you've had a taste already. You've already listened to Judas Priest, to Iron Maiden, so you're looking for something different, something new. So I give you recs that are a little bit more underground to get you started on your journey into whatever subgenre it is you want to get into. So with that out of the way, let's go into the second one. The one tier more abrasive. Merciful Fate's Don't Break the Oath. This is a band I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of, but I couldn't really think of like a middle ground between Sortilege and the next one. But Merciful Fate hits it well, especially Don't Break the Oath. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. It is one of the few albums that I actually give a 10 out of 10 to. I absolutely adore this album. Why is it at number 2 on the gradient and considered more abrasive than Sortilege? Mainly because of the vocals. I've seen people, brush off Merciful Fate because they don't like King Diamond's vocals. I've actually seen it a lot. And it's a real shame because Merciful Fate is an amazing band with some amazing riffs, and I think King Diamond is a great vocalist. I really do believe that. However, some people don't believe that, and I can definitely see why someone who is uninitiated to metal may not like Merciful Fate. I love them. I love the music. I love the concept of it, because there's just a little aside, every single Merciful Fate and King Diamond album is basically a concept album, or if it's not a concept album, it's an album that works on concepts from other albums. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of lore and stuff. Really, really cool shit. And I think there's a lot to delve into if you really like Merciful Fate. The music is kick-ass, the stories are kick-ass, and even the theatrics, if you go to see them live, are kick-ass. There's so much to love about this band. Some people bitch because, King Diamond's falsetto is bad. Fuck you. Next, we have Metal Lucifer's Heavy Metal Drill. This is the most abrasive for the same reason that Merciful Fate is second, the vocals. I personally love the vocals on Metal Lucifer, actually. I personally believe that the vocals actually really add something to the music and make it really, really fun to listen to. But a lot of people would hear the accent on this and I feel would discredit it as silly or something, which is really disheartening, but it's true because I have put this on for people and they wanted me to turn it off because it sounds silly or stupid. I don't agree. I love this album. I love everything by Metal Lucifer. It's great shit and you should definitely try it eventually, obviously. I'm not expecting you to just go right for that, although someone's probably going to do that now because I said that. So now we're going to do recommendations. And the reason we're doing recommendations and not talking about sub-genres is because Traditional metal has this problem that I kind of memed about in thrash metal, and I think it was my dunking on deathcore where I talked about how thrash metal really doesn't really have any room to explore. This is actually true for traditional metal, and you can look at bands like Fate's Warning or Sacred Blade, and you can actually look at those bands and see what I'm talking about. They're both power progressive in the case of Fate's Warning, and progressive in the case of Sacred Blade, but they still sound like a regular heavy metal band. They just have a lot more going on. So even just adding a little bit more of those progressive elements, it just takes on a completely different genre. And that's not just my belief. That's literally what they're titled as on Metal Archives, which, as much as I hate Metal Archives, which I'll get into eventually on a dunking on, even they and everyone else separates these things. So let's get into the Rex. First one, Heavy Load, Death or Glory. I brought this up on my Metal for Beginners, where I talked about a little bit about all the subgenres. Love this record. I really mean that. It really encapsulates everything I love about heavy metal, from the over-the-top cheesy oohs and stuff like Heavy Metal Angels to the awesome slower parts of actually that same song, and the really pulse-pounding riffs. It's got it all. Great record. Next, we have Tokyo Blade's Night of the Blade. This is kind of breaking the rule we were talking about, but I don't care. Technically, Tokyo Blade could be glam metal or heavy metal. I think they kind of like blend the two together really well, and it just becomes trad at the end of the day. But there is glam metal in this, and there are, I'm pretty sure, full-blown glam metal albums. I haven't really listened to anything outside of this record, but I do know that people really look at this band more as a glam metal band than a trad band. But in my opinion, this album is just straight trad, and it's fucking killer. Next, we have Tank's Filth Hounds of Hades. I love this album. I put it on every time I work out. If I'm lifting weights, if I'm fucking playing basketball, if I'm cleaning my room, Tank's Filth Hounds of Hades goes on. And it stays on. Great album. Next, Satan's Court in the Act, which... This is kind of one of those albums that I couldn't even say anything negative about. I wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10, but it's definitely like a 9.5 in my opinion. It has some speed metal leanings, and I say that specifically because there are a lot of more technical riffs that maybe you wouldn't find so much of in traditional metal, but dude, it's phenomenal. Next, we have Angel Witch's self-titled album, Angel Witch. Adore this record. I've listened to it a ton. Incredible. Awesome. Then we have another one that kind of breaks the rule, and that's Manila Road's Crystal Logic. It's technically USPM or United States power metal. I want to add it because it does have traditional metal elements in it. It's not just straight up power metal. And I'm not talking about that crappy Glory Hammer shit. I'm talking about like actual proper power metal like Jagdpanzer or something, which we'll get into for the power metal beginners, and I'll have a whole thing where I dog on European power metal and what it's become. Not right now. Manila Road's Crystal Logic is one of my favorite records of all time. I have it on vinyl, I have the shirt, I listen to it all the fucking time. Brilliant record. Next, we have Metal Church's self-titled Metal Church. Amazing record again. This record I really like because I love the drum work a lot. It really stands out to me. Even though everything about this record is so amazing, there is something about the drum work on this that is just a cut above the rest. It actually really made me want a drum kit when I was younger. Blew my brains out. Next, we have Oz's Fire in the Brain. Great record. I don't really know how to describe this one, but The Wizard, Subterranean Exile. This is something that really should have been on the Gradient more now that I think about it, because of the vocals are very weird. But I think it's one of those things where the music, I think, is so damn good that most people probably won't mind and actually might learn to appreciate. The next down we have is Leviticus's I Shall Conquer. It's a Christian metal band. Wait, don't click off. I like this album because it's very clear that they put the music before the message instead of the message before the music. The music on this is absolutely incredible. And I think you would be remiss, might be the word, for not checking this record out. And the next one, too, is Saint Too Late for Living, which is also a Christian metal record. Don't groan. Same deal as the first one I mentioned. Great music. The music came first, and it's fucking kick-ass. Alright. Thank you guys for watching. This one was a little bit more quick. Essentially because there's not really much to talk about when it comes to these records. If I talked about all of these records in detail, it would just be the same thing on repeat in a lot of cases. But I'm glad we did this because I love traditional metal, like the old style of metal that we're talking about here. It's one of my favorite genres. Absolutely adore it. And also, before I go, I wanted I'll give you guys a little bit of an update. I'm moving, so I might not be able to upload nearly as often as I once, was, specifically because I'm going to be very busy moving. I'll try to make some videos where I can, and yeah, thank you guys for watching. Mortician, peace out.